My friend and colleague, Ben Clinch from Ortecha, is going to lead a discussion in, hey, AI again. AI for data management. Ben, welcome to the stage.
So if I can welcome my fellow panelists to the stage. And while we're doing that, I just wanted to say what an incredible event this is. 20 years to be celebrating at UBS, my alma mater. I was here back in 2006. And it's just so amazing to see so many familiar faces and the strength of the community that the EDM Council has brought together of people passionate about helping each other learn about data management and analytics and AI. Each one of us here is helping others succeed in their organizations, and it's just such a great thing to see Peter Serenita, who I was lucky enough to work with back in 2012 at HSBC as well. It's just an amazing community. And we...
Ben, in 20 years, you're still wearing a black shirt at every event.
Yes. It's not the same one, though, I promise. So with that, we've got the most incredible panel here today, and I'm really thrilled to be talking with you about AI for data management, because we all know that AI comes up, it's added to everything. It's only going to be a short amount of time before it's added to washing powder. And it's sucking the air out of the room. It did for many years. All of the funding was going into this. I was really struck earlier in the year when I was lucky enough to go to Gartner's Data and Analytics Summit, how there was a change in the atmosphere there associated with people really fully acknowledging that data was the foundation for which AI needed to be built upon. And if I dare say, it was a bit lip service previously. And now there was so much focus in terms of all of those talks associated with that. Now, we all know that there are challenges associated with making data ready for AI. Actually, incredible, for example, context from Ollie about these incredible data sets that a large language model have been trained upon. But today we're going to focus primarily on how you can use AI to improve data management. And it is slightly cyclical in that sense. So with that, what I'd love to do, I'll just very quickly introduce myself, because although I know so many of you, I'm a partner at Ortecha, super passionate about helping organizations improve the value of their data and reduce the risk of their data. But more importantly, I want to go to our panelists, our incredible panelists, starting with Joe. If I can ask you to introduce yourselves and then say a little bit about what you do from a data management perspective and its relevance to AI, if that's okay.
Perfect. So hi, everybody. Joanne, Biggadike. I work at Schroders, and I look after data governance. And I think that I've always been quite keen in anything that relies on data. My role at Schroders is to look at data governance roles and responsibilities, but one of the things that I'm also asked to do is oversee some of our AI use cases. I'm part of a committee there that includes legal, compliance, security, etc. And the core kind of premise behind that, and one of the reasons why I'm so interested in this, is to just make sure that we're not doing anything unintentionally incorrect or something that the outcome doesn't warrant the kind of methodology.
Perfect. Wonderful. And over to Caroline, if that's okay.
Hello, Ben. So I'm Caroline Lewis. I work for one of the vendors sponsoring today's, Quaylogic. My title says Data Practitioner, and I have been a data practitioner in data management and data governance for years. But actually my specialty now is in AI risk, AI governance, and I support clients who don't know how to implement the governance of AI. So how can you do it ethically? How can you be responsible around it? And most of AI is vendor driven. So organizations don't build their AI models, they buy them in. Yeah. So how do you manage that risk from a third party, a fourth party perspective?
Wonderful.
So yeah,
what
I work
with
topic. AI day in, day out.
Fantastic, thanks Caroline. Catarina, over to you.
So, Catarina Santos, I am the head of data management tooling at UBS. I've been part of the journey at UBS from a data management perspective over the last 9 years almost. So it's been an incredible journey because it saw the beginning of the data management journey at UBS, and then of course moved towards the tooling space, which is of course highly relevant on the topic we'll be talking today, as of course everyone knocks at my door these days. Yeah, that's me.
Wonderful, thank you. And last but not least, Matthew, please.
Hi everyone, Matthew Widick, Director of Data Enablement at Compare the Market. I was in banking for 25, I was one of the original coal miners working on spreadsheets. And now I get to use tools for all of it. So, and Ben loves when I do this. So I'm responsible for data governance, data quality, privacy, data risk, model risk, knowledge graph, robotic process automation, AI governance, data ethics. I still feel like I forgot one, but that's the run. So I'm responsible for that. I get like 10 minutes free at around 6 p.m.
This is wonderful, and what an incredible panel to have. So I'm going to start, if that's okay, with Catarina. I would love to ask you, how is AI helping you improve data management? What techniques and approaches are you seeing across the industry?
Well, so I think a lot has been said already. So it's extremely important that all the firms have the right foundations. So I think we've been working towards this tipping point for the past 10 years. Processes are established, tools exist, vendors are evolving with us. But we really need to be very clear that what we've done until up today, the level of quality and the level of governance that we did at a very small set of data now applies to a bigger set. So we need to be quicker, but we cannot sacrifice on quality. And that's actually the trick. Now, practically on the tools we have today, and I will talk about my experience in the tool set that I manage, AI has been with us for a while. It's not something that suddenly just appeared in our lab. So we have narrow AI use cases, for example, machine learning techniques that we are using today to do the physical mapping, or mapping the physical structures to the logical layer. And that's being used now for almost 3 years. And it proves incredibly useful and really accelerates that process, especially when you start working with bigger data sets. Another example, and I'll go through some examples if maybe bring it to life to people, things that we do have. It's how we really use AI to improve the quality of the metadata that we capture, because it's also very important. So a good example is when you're creating a description or defining a data quality issue. Sometimes descriptions are very poor. The linkage between the impacted elements on the impacted systems is not well defined. AI can really help, powered by graph databases and knowledge graph that exists out there and all the metadata that we already have, actually is really helping to drive that quality, which accelerates the resolution path, which really informs the prioritization decisions that we need to make when we are looking at a very vast number of data quality issues and we don't know which one we should address first. One more example maybe, and maybe this one sounds a little bit odd, but data management is not for everyone. And I think in this room, everyone understands data management. We've been doing this for a long while, but I don't talk with my dad and mom about what I do anymore because they just don't get it. It's just too weird. So I think agents, virtual chatbots, it's something that is really powerful. If we put all our unstructured metadata, all our frameworks, all our policies, all our processes all together in a chatbot and use it to help to drive the organization forward and know how to use what is this, what is that, what is the key data element, what is the key data output, what is ownership, what is my role as a data owner. It's very simple, but can change the dial, especially when you're talking about a bigger number of data role holders now in the organization as your data sets and the governance become wider and wider. So it's examples, agentic, of course, it's coming, but I just touched upon real use cases that we use today, and they're already here. More to come, rapidly evolving technologies. It's amazing. But I think we need to go at pace, but careful.
Fantastic. What a great point as well. It really got my mind thinking around the pioneers of web search. You don't need to know how the search engine works. You just need to use it. And perhaps we're seeing a paradigm shift a little bit associated with being empowered by AI. Amazing examples there. Thank you so much, Catarina. So I'm going to go to Joe now, if that's okay. And I'm going to ask you, what are the risks in using AI for data management?
I think there is a risk in that if you haven't got good data, which is where your data governance comes in, then you rubbish in, rubbish out on a massive scale. Yeah. And also if you take the human out of the loop, you lose that knowledge that a human can often overlay when something like that happens. Oh no, just ignore that, we want this one. That's why it is so critical that you either can trust the data or you've got mechanisms to kind of counteract anything that isn't quite right. And I think the only way you can do that, although I'm obviously slightly biased, is if you do data governance, because that tells you all of that kind of information. It tells you where the data come from, what the best source is, who the best kind of definer of that information is, if you've got a question, what data steward you need to go to. If you've got all that foundational information, it makes using AI less dangerous. But I think it still can be dangerous with that, and I think that's the minimum that you need to do.
Yeah, what a great point. AI makes a lot of things faster. It potentially could make a lot of bad things happen faster as well, I suppose. So, fantastic point. Over to you, Caroline.
Well, I mean, AI's been around for a long time, and as has risk been around for a long time. I think the introduction of AI to data management is bringing out risks that people weren't aware of beforehand. So you have to make sure there's always a risk of having too much of a reliance on your AI agents, and you lose all the information around your data to AI because they're controlling it and they're knowing it. So there's a real risk of an organisation not understanding their data because AI is doing the data management. But so that's, as Joe said, the really important part is bringing your human in the loop on that. You've taken away hours with your AI agents to do data management, put those hours back in with those humans to look at the answers of that AI agent, check that it's not drifting, check that the model's still working. So use your SMEs and use the people who know about the data to work alongside the AI agents and de-risk the use of them.
I love that. And that reminds me of the conversation that we had at the AI Forum this week. A big plug for the working group or AI Forum that we have. We were talking about the risk of cognitive offloading and the recent MIT white paper that really sort of highlighted brain scans associated with people who'd used AI to augment essay writing, so it absolutely perfectly resonates. That's wonderful, wonderful. So over to Matthew, if that's okay. I wanted to ask you, how is the new volume and the volume of insights into data enabled by AI helping you gain better observability?
I don't know if the new volume's helping. Certainly it's very real, right? It's very real. And I think it's forcing a redefinition of what we say when we mean metadata. So in an AI context, let's use generative AI as an example. The questions that the consumer is typing in are actually metadata in their own way, right? So some of it is, some of it's not. But those questions are pointers to the outputs that you're generating. And if you aren't monitoring in near real time the answers you're giving to the questions and whether they are fit for purpose and whether they're correct and timely and et cetera, you're generating this, the inputs aren't being matched by the outputs, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. So the volumes aren't necessarily helping. It is forcing a level of new work that is exponentially larger. And in the absence of AI, we would not be able to deal with that. If that makes some tracking.
It makes great
so
sense.
We're building, we have observability now sitting on the models. We have observability sitting on our data. We have observability sitting on our applications. And so the thing I'm trying to now drive is taking all of the metadata of all of that observability, putting it into a knowledge graph with business process and with systems, and then running models on top of that. And those models are going to tell me if the environment is secure and safe and is running appropriately. To me, that is, I hate this phrase, that is next-gen data management, because it's real-time awareness of everything that's happening right now with AI inside the company and outside the company.
That is, that's phenomenal. And to be able to build effectively, I mean, I love the phrase digital twin. It's maybe a little overused sometimes. It can literally mean a digital version of you as well, of course. So it's sort of broadly applied. But a digital twin of the enterprise to some degree to oversee.
Yeah,
some
it's basically the
aspects of it.
immune system for the enterprise is what we're trying to basically fundamentally build. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, look, there's a lot to think about here as well. So I think, I am mindful also that we are the last panel standing between you and a break. So do talk to these incredible panelists about their incredible experience. They are all practitioners and thought leaders in their own way. What I'd love to do is just ask one question, but actually encourage each of you to answer if that's okay. How critical is an organization's existing data maturity for successfully implementing AI in data management? I mean, what should be folks doing, and most importantly, what should they be avoiding, I guess? And is it right to start with you, Jo?
So I think, like all things, it depends on the organisation. If you've got a fairly low-risk, data-led organisation, then it's probably not going to be too scary. If you work in a bank or a financial institution that's heavily regulated, then absolutely. There are extremes. And I think that, you need to make sure if you're doing something with generative AI, assuming it's generative, that there's a purpose for it and that the costs aren't more than the actual value add. And the other thing is that I say when people ask me, generally speaking, should we do this? It's like, well, what have we said as an organisation? What are our values? What have we told our customers or clients? Does it go against our terms and conditions? Does it go against what we've said in our privacy agreements? You need to know what you're selling as an organisation on top of that. And I think that can sometimes get missed because people get so excited by the idea of automating something and potentially being front running. And that can make that kind of logical side and governing side seem a little bit restrictive, but it can actually save you from kind of going against your own internal values.
I love that. There's a little bit of a phrase that I like to use, which is sort of guarding against running with scissors. It's we don't want to be the fun police, and scissors are useful for creating things, but you don't want to create unnecessary perils. So I love the way you describe that. Caroline, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question, and going back to John's slide right at the beginning, it's a cyclical thing. So you've got data feeding AI, but we're using AI to make data.
Yes.
So your automatic responses, you have to have a high level of data maturity to bring in AI into your data management. I actually don't think you have to have high data management maturity. The real key part is understanding what maturity you've got in your organisation, and therefore which is most applicable, the type of AI that you can apply in your data management.
Fantastic.
So, for example, if you've got low maturity, everybody has to start somewhere. They have a low journey. That doesn't mean you can't use AI, but you don't necessarily bring AI that is using your internal data for data management. You might use OpenAI large language models because your maturity is low. So you could use AI to find out your business terms from an OpenAI perspective. Or if you've got low data maturity, you could look at AI models that are making unstructured data into structured data. You can do that without having a high level of maturity.
Fantastic.
But then as your maturity increases, you can then look at more complex types of AI, the type of things that Matthew was looking at in your observability and your error correcting. You shouldn't really look at automated AI observability or error correcting unless you have a pretty good solid of your data quality. So you have to have more of a data maturity. So I don't think it's all about you have to have good data maturity. It's about, and I'm going to say using the DCAM assessment, understanding what level of maturity you are, and then working out the right AI at that level.
What a fantastic message. And so it opens up new opportunities to do more sophisticated things, the more sophisticated or mature your data management is.
But it doesn't mean you can't do AI if you're at the beginning of your journey.
Wonderful. I love that. Fantastic. Over to Catarina.
Well, a lot has been said already, so I don't want to repeat anything. But maybe again, example from a UBS standpoint, we are a large organization. We have very different levels of maturity within it, and the direction is to develop AI central capabilities to serve all the different areas. I think it is extremely important to have that acknowledgement and not blocking anyone from using it, but using it at the same pace they are ready to use it, and of course continue to support the data journey, because that's extremely important. Data foundations and the data governance foundations need to always be there. And maybe there was something that was, I think, John, you mentioned, and I think is extremely important to mention. There's a high focus at the moment on upskilling enterprise-wide AI skills. And yes, it is extremely important. People need to adjust to the new reality. But we cannot forget about data governance and data awareness. So I think we need to continue to fight that journey, because data governance is not as sexy as AI. But it's so important, it's so instrumental that we need to bring these two things together as much as possible. So that's maybe my add-on.
Yeah, I love that. And Matthew, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'll be a little controversial. I think you need to run right at it with scissors right now. So to be perfect, I mean, I guarantee you at every board and every ExCo meeting that's happening right now, they're talking about AI. That is the one thing that is common, that's what they're talking about. And they're talking about the fact that it is an existential crisis for a lot of companies. Yeah. You're either going to be on the curve up or you're going to be on the curve down. And if you're not on the curve up, you're done. Yeah. Like, you will be disintermediated away from the marketplace. Your customers will no longer talk to you because they're going to do it through an agent. And no, is that 5 months out? No, it's 18 months out, 2 months, 2 years, 3, whatever it is, it's happening. And they are going to invest heavily in AI. Every company is going to lean in as hard as they can. They have no choice. You have to be sitting in the room with them saying, but also data management, because if you aren't in the room saying that, they're going to go ahead and do it. And if you're not there with scissors, innovating as fast as they are, as fast as the science teams are innovating, you're left behind. You're done. So I think for all of you that run teams, see if you can get approval to hire data scientists. I've got 2. Right, I've got 2 data scientists on my data management team now, building AI models for me, because I will not be able to keep up if I don't do that. I'm buying every tool I can get my hands on. I'm leveraging them as hard as I can, and I'm building whatever I can build, because the science teams are being pushed to run as fast as humanly possible. And I think that's probably true at almost every company out there right now.
So I love that as well. So it's going to be a key differentiator, and you know, as they always say, when the tide goes out, you're going to work out who's been wearing their data management swimwear. So there is a little bit of a challenge there, and I love that. How fast we can almost keep up. So I'm going to throw out one wildcard question, and then we've got just one question for the audience, because so wildcard question is, and any panelist, you can let me know who. Caroline mentioned unstructured data, and of course one of the interesting things is that we haven't been looking after unstructured data terribly well across many industries for many years. Ironically, for human beings, by human beings, and now there seems to be more of a focus on needing that for agents. So what can we do from an AI for data management, or even knowledge management, if you prefer that phrase, in this situation to benefit that? I think Caroline touched on it briefly, but anybody like to take that, or what are you doing, or what are you seeing in that space?
So just so I understand, wildcard questions can throw me. So what we can do to manage unstructured data
To
with an AI.
capitalise on unstructured data.
So there's a lot of
yeah.
use cases out there. I'm working with an insurance company at the moment who are they use unstructured data in claims all the time. You have a car crash, you write down what happened, they submit it in handwriting.
Yeah.
Previously, a human had to go through, and now they've just built AI models that will now extract the right information around that and put it all into a structured table with
Fantastic
it. So
example.
there are real use cases going on. It's one of the biggest changes I found is being able to utilize unstructured data through AI.
Super exciting. Well, with that, we've got time, as I say, for one question. Oh, we have a hand up over here. Are you able to grab the microphone from behind the chair? There we go.
Yeah, thank you. My question is more about on the quality, like, the response that we get from the AI, like, as we spoke about, like, we have our metadata generated through the AI and all this thing. But it is quite debatable, and I think I have seen this challenge, like, if you ask the same question to a model, it is highly likely that you will get a different response, right?
Yep.
So how, I mean, specifically, like, Catarina, you talk about, you have these kind of, in the UBS, the AI is being used, right? So in terms of, taking any kind of decision making, I would say, like, the KPIs, like, I'm coming from the background where, I work on, like, creating a dashboard where you list your key KPIs there, and based upon that you take your decision, right? So it is a very critical that how accurate you get the response from the AI agents and AI models.
Well, it's a difficult question, it's a challenge for all of us, and that's why I think when I first talked through how we were using it today, we use it very carefully. And one thing, it's clear, human in the loop always. So decisions cannot be made by machines, and I think that's here to stay. You can have an agent that will do part of your manual work, repetitive work, but a decision, a last decision, especially in governance, right? That's the purpose of governance. You need to have accountability be taken by a human. Because that's going to be the person that if something goes wrong, the regulator will call. And we're not going to put an agent in jail. At least I think we won't. but that's the biggest problem, is when we deploy an AI tool in the middle of a process that was designed to be performed by humans, we need to redefine the process and we need to redefine the actors. But being very clear, there's always a human in the loop. As where needed, of course. But again, you need to be quick, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but we need to be extra careful, because the excitement can be a disaster if we don't really be careful on where we're deploying the agents or where we're deploying the AI tools. So that's the best answer I can give you, but again, it's not an exact answer.
I can.
In a way, like, kind of, you can use that as a companion for you, like, you use your understanding based upon the response you get and then take the decision of that.
That's, yes, maybe a good way of rewording it.
See, I'm trying to get to a world where human isn't in the loop anymore. but
Risk
that's
and
fine.
governance does not like that.
But again, we're starting to treat our AI agents that we're building as employees. So they're literally employees, and there is a person who is an SMF who is responsible for them. And so if they go sideways or go wrong or something happens, there is an individual who is in fact responsible for them. So that person has to feel comfortable that the thing is working. And so in terms of your question around accuracy of the responses, again, it very much depends on what kind of AI. I think we spend a lot of time saying AI. There are a lot of different versions and iterations of it, from basic analytics and ML all the way up to general AI. For something that's generative, knowledge graph for the win. So putting a knowledge graph under the LLM solves a whole bunch of that problem. Basically, the context allows you not to lose the focus on the answer, so the LLM is consistent. For things that are bigger, it's about constant tuning. It's about observability. It's about monitoring all the time. You can get to a place where you get to 99.9%. You just have to fight for it as much as humanly possible. So no, I'm not human out of the loop entirely, but I want to get to that place.
Very exciting. And obviously you saw my eyebrows raised every time anybody mentioned knowledge graph. some of the modalities I see that are most exciting in terms of answering that question are neurosymbolic AI, combining graph or symbolic AI with machine learning or large language models, and the two really work very well together. We talk a lot about that at the AI Forum, so again, another plug to come join us. So I just want to say a huge thank you to our incredible panelists here, and thank you so much for all your questions, all your attention.